And having seen the EcoBank, it also means that it's now time for us to do AM business. And the Ministry of Energy says bad power agreements are foiling government efforts at implementing alternative energy plans. Government will have to pay some $500 million every year for power we do not need. Deputy Minister of Energy, Joseph Kujo, says people in hard to reach communities will be the most affected.
Comes to setting up the fund, those things that should be done to roll out renewable energy. It is my understanding that at the moment, the incentive to go aggressive in deploying solar, it's really not. I wish you sit in here in the ministry and you know the kind of capacity payments we're making, the amounts we're paying for excess capacity. Excess capacity is costing us close to $500 million a year, and dollars. And this is part of the problem the previous government created for us. And so sometimes they get painful when you hear them talk the way they are talking, because they know they just signed PPAs as if Ghana is suffering PPA diarrhea. They just signed it, and at prices that were very much surprising. Now everywhere you go, travel anywhere, and people everybody want to come and generate power in Ghana. And I say, hey, wait a minute. And they tell you generating power in Ghana is an attractive business, but it's all because exactly. So sometimes it gets very painful. Hear them, the damage they have done to the tariff level they signed and the excessive nature of the PPAs they've put into the system that is constraining us from using cheaper sources of power like the solar we're talking about.
This is the reason why the passage of the Renewable Energy Law in 2011 has been sketchy and virtually unachievable. So what is renewable energy in the first place? Energy from a source that is not depleted when used, such as wind or solar power. The renewable energy target set by the Energy Commission since the passage of the law is as follows: 2 million solar lanterns, 30,000 solar home systems, 20 to 26 megawatts of utility scale biomass and waste energy capacity, 150 to 250 megawatts of utility scale wind, and 50 to 150 megawatts of utility scale solar capacity. Hard to reach communities were expected to be the biggest benefactors of this plan to complement the use of the national grid by virtue of the allocation.
You're trying to attract investors to that space because the only option is off-grid electricity source. Okay. And investors are being wooed in. The problem there too is that, those communities are not so much economically viable for them to be able to pay economic tariff. So if you look at the cost of making that power available to them and the tariff revenue that you will get, you see that there is a gross mismatch. So it goes with its own unique solution you want to prefer, and that is what has apparently been the problem to deal with.
For now, the only way is to reschedule some of the power purchase agreements for the future. While power purchase agreements pose a major setback, the high cost of solar panels and batteries for storage and the general technology for alternative energy are but a few of the issues. For this reason, the Renewable Energy Fund was to be set up for this purpose. 8 years on, the fund is not in place.
We need to have an appropriate financing mechanism to ensure that those who are interested but they can afford upfront are able to get on to the technology. But
wasn't the Renewable Energy Fund, for example, expected to solve some of these challenges?
Yes, but that fund has never existed. Okay, so the Renewable Energy Fund has never been operationalized. It's in the Act, but it hasn't been operationalized. So that's something that we need to be looking at. And the whole idea is that, yes, it will help buy down the cost of capital so that people will be able to get access to that.
According to the Renewable Energy Act, a purchase obligation also required all power producers to have a component of renewable energy, and that also has not been implemented.
Aspect of that act that has also never been operationalized, that's the purchase obligation, the renewable energy purchase obligation that requires or enjoins bulk suppliers of electricity and also the producers of electricity to have a certain component of their supply in renewables. Okay, if that had been the case, then it would have put the onus would have been on these people to either generate themselves or say that, okay, if my customers are going to do it, then I will take that as my having fulfilled my obligation. That has also not happened.
Jinko Solar is the world's leading solar panel producer. Marketing manager for Africa says despite all the challenges enumerated, Ghana is still a hub for West Africa.
We have identified Ghana as a strong future growth market, within Africa. And we will be deploying resources into the West African region, partly because of Ghana and the large growth that is expected in Ghana. So I don't know the exact numbers in Ghana in terms of how much of the population has access to grid electricity. But I know that for a large part of Africa, and I'm sure Ghana is very much in that conversation, many people do not have access to electricity and grid electricity, and that's where we foresee the future of solar playing a very large part.
A director at Trojan Batteries, also a leading solar batteries producer, says the investment should go beyond cost, but the moral reason for saving the planet.
I think the pressure is on for all of us, no matter what country you're in, right? I think, you need to have this push not only from the government or from certain institutions. It has to go through this society, in my point of view, right? So I see this in Germany. I know everyone, German can afford it, but this is not the question about only affording it. This is really the willingness. Do I want to offer my child and my child's child a happy life and, going out in the countryside and breathe fresh air? That, for me, is a key question. And frankly, the Germans still need to actually look into Africa and say, hey, how, all those decentralized systems, what they already have, what the solar system they already have, we should look into this and place it also into Germany, right? We do see a movement in Germany on this right now, but I think there could be much more to be done.
All is not lost yet in Ghana. The National Lotteries has so far installed 30,000 panels on e-kiosks to take pressure off the national grid.
The current design, what makes it a little expensive is the solar component, which for us, this day and age, we must move from the national grid to renewable energy if we can. We believe that if we're going to have 40,000 of this or 30,000 of this, it gives us in the vicinity of about 20 megawatts of renewable energy of the national grid. We're also looking at how we can even crystallize it and then send it back to the national grid when we are not using the energy. So it's very important, and they are calling on the government to subsidize that aspect of it because part of the Millennium Development Goal. And we think the way we have energy issues, it is imperative that we move the energy from the national grid and have our own LMC or e-kiosk solar.
But the issue of cost will not go away as operators are asking for a rebate.
We are over 10,000. And if over 10,000, do we have such spaces to place all 10,000 kiosks? And with the pricing, because according to the sales, some people do sell well, others don't sell. So how many people will be able to acquire those containers? these e-kiosks. So that's our beef.
The kiosk we are selling is okay, but to get a e-kiosk there, we don't like the e-kiosk.
So you're okay where you are?
Yeah. I have 5 kiosks at the Dansuma. From here, I go to Dansuma.
You don't like all these?
Oh, this one, we don't like it. We don't like it.
If they can give the kiosk for us to pay small, that one, I mean yearly or installment, we will like it. But for the meantime, we the receivers, we don't have money, start money.
Energy Commission has issued provisional licenses for more than 1.8 gigawatts of generating capacity of solar. It is expected that it will go a long way to change the dynamics when it comes to renewable energy. This will, however, not meet our 10% renewable energy capacity by 2030, since Ghana is currently only doing 0.6%. Okay.
Well, that's it for the latest business stories we have on AM Business. As always, it's brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Stay with us. We're going to do some great discussions and get some insights. We know that the NDC chairman, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, as well as the deputy communications director of the party, were all arraigned before court yesterday. Court correspondent Joseph Akable will be in the studio with Mamavi Uso-Boaje. They'll have some great discussions on the subject. Stay with us.